Glynn, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, man. Appreciate you coming out.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Glenn, good buddy of mine, played softball together, and you're a lender here in Austin.
That's correct.
And we appreciate you coming, man.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, we try to make this pretty easy going, have some fun, try to give out value to entrepreneurs, real estate brokers, developers. A lot going on right now in your world, I'm sure.
Real busy this year.
Yeah. And would love to kind of dive into your background as much as you can, kind of where you grew up, what you were doing early on in life, and how you got to where you're at. And then we'll just dive in and ask some questions.
Sure. Would love to start.
Yeah, let's get it.
So I actually, let's start here. So I went to college in Colorado, right?
Where were you born?
Born in Baton Rouge.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So South Louisiana, small town. So if you hear the accent, I am 100% Cajun.
I love the Louisiana guys. And
so
girls.
I try to sound more professional, but it comes out, if I start saying stuff like comfortable and it starts to draw out.
There's something really cool about that area. You know D, or maybe not, but we had D on. And
I saw the podcast.
Yeah.
So he's from New Orleans?
Yeah.
No, he's from Ponchatoula.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I know where that's at.
But that's just I don't know, there's something about that culture. It just seems like everybody I meet that's from there.
It's pretty cool people, easygoing.
Yeah.
Tend to be pretty loud characters for the most part, but real cool. Yeah. So born and raised there, small town, not much going on, and left high school. I was like, you know what? I'm coming to Texas first. So, fun fact: I used to work at the YO Ranch through high school in the summers, which is located in Kerrville, and so we would come to Austin in the summers often. To visit.
Work the ranch?
Yeah, from the ranch, we'd come to the city and just kind of experience 6th Street and hang out with people that we knew here. I worked with a lot of people from Austin. I think they were from the Westlake area. And so I had experience with Austin, had friends here, had a lot of friends from Texas in general. So very familiar with the area since 1996, 95 time frame. So
nice. Well, how'd you get into that ranching deal from...
my grandfather, as a kid, sent me there for summer camp.
Okay.
And so I ended up working there as a field instructor and got into the outdoors, sort of rock climbing and riding horses. And
what is Wild Ranch? It's
a working ranch. It used to be one of the largest ranches in Texas, besides the King Ranch. I think it used to be like 300,000 acres or something like that.
Damn.
So now I think it's currently like 40, possibly, and it's got a lot of exotic animals. So a lot of hunting. High fence area. Pretty cool place though.
Yeah. I bet.
And so went there, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to college in Colorado. And went to Colorado Mountain College, which is an associate's degree. And it was a outdoor recreation. And so I started to get into working for Outward Bound, companies like that. And took 2 years off to decide what I wanted to do. Because I think a lot of times you go to college and you don't really know what you want to do. Like, I love the outdoors, yet I didn't make any money in the outdoors.
Dude, we've had like 3 people recently come on that were passionate about that.
Yeah, passionate.
And I think there's something, now that I'm thinking about this, like, you have to tell me, but like the career that we're after with real estate in general provides a lot of flexibility. Freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what you were after with that.
That's exactly right.
Because literally we've had 3 people, you're the 3rd person that was doing that, but is now in real estate.
True. And I've heard it a lot. I think there's some excitement to it, too. You want to be financially free enough to do the things you want. There's also a certain drive to it. There's excitement to. So I'll just say this. In between my college careers, I was a whitewater raft guide in the summers.
Nice.
Okay. And so this was in Colorado, and I took 2 years off and went to New Zealand. And I was a whitewater raft guide there for 2 years, full time.
Dude, I've heard amazing things about New Zealand. Like, it seems like the coolest place in the world.
It is, basically.
I mean, seriously, I've just heard great things.
Put it this way, man. I was rafting. I was making $100 a trip, right, in New Zealand cash, which is fine. I think it was like 40 cents to the dollar there at that time. And I was doing 2 trips a day, so I was making $200 a day, and I was doing well, in my opinion. I was doing well. I had all the money saved. I didn't have to spend anything. I got to fly fish on a river called the Rangatiki River. I was the only one that fly fished that river. Like literally, when I tell you I was catching the largest fish in the world just by myself, and no one would ever see that.
Why would nobody else fish it?
I never had a Louisiana boy out there.
Right. I don't think many people were fly fishing at that time. There were a few, but it was so remote. Like we were 90 miles away from the nearest gas station. Mm-hmm. And so I was on a sheep farm, right? And we had a lodge there, and that's what we did. So
How do you leave this life?
I think, a lot of people ask me that. And first, I will say that my visa ran out, my work visa. So that was one reason. I had an option to marry a woman, but I was 19 or 20. I wasn't about to do that. Plus, I wanted to finish college. And so I came back to Colorado and got my business degree. Mm-hmm. General business studies, nothing real complicated. Didn't really know. I did real well in school, though. I graduated top of my class and then got a wife pregnant and had to move back to Louisiana. And I think that's kind of where I got into a few things that that didn't really interest me. I got into the textile business. And that's where I learned a lot of my skills from. I was a sales manager for a textile company. And when I say textiles, I mean outerwear, rain gear mainly. And so I was in the uniform division. And so we had contracts with the United States Postal Service, Highway Patrol out of California.
Damn. So private business, you're selling?
Right. So basically my job was to go around and I worked with my salesmen. I had 12 across the country, and I would fly to these cities and we would make bids on public, like public bids for the state. So the California Highway Patrol needs 3,000 outerwear raincoats for their police officers. So I would go in, look at the specifications of that jacket, and then I would come in with a bid.
You ever see politics come into play there, where bids are going to people with connections? I know
sort of. Well, I would say this: if the sergeant or whoever's in charge of solidifying that bid, if they are tied to a rep with any other large company, and what I've seen is I've lost deals to larger companies that were a little bit cooler. Like say the police officers liked this specific jacket because it had a label on it that they liked, like 511 or at that time I think now they're owned by Under Armour, but 511 was a brand that we went against a lot, and Bauer, some other companies like that. And so what we would do is we would take the specifications of those garments and we would match them identical and come in at a cheaper price. And that was my goal.
That's just a weird world when you're getting into these contracts and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's huge bids too.
Dude, this is kind of random note, but I was watching the show on the Mafia.
Yeah.
In New York City in the 70s, and like they controlled the construction industry.
Everything.
And like
concrete,
concrete, and they would just jack up the bids. Like the guy that ran the union was big Mafia guy, and the average bid would be like $9 million, but they would start at 12.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a 13, 14, and 15, and they'd get the 12.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man.
I forget what they get charged with when they get caught doing that. What is that, racketeering or something like that?
Yeah, racketeering.
Giuliani, dude, he brought down all of them at one time.
Are you watching the CNBC New York's?
It was it's on Netflix, like Fierce City.
Gotcha.
Kind of random, but it was pretty
awesome
crazy.
Show. No, it's great.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot can be learned from the Mafia.
I agree, man. But it just makes me think, like, being in business, like there's this whole nother level of business that goes on that's mixed with politics. And that's what got me thinking.
And you
about
have to ask yourself, like, who, how, is it seems Austin's a different city. I find people in Austin are pretty honest.
Yeah,
people are pretty laid back and honest here. New Orleans, different story. I've seen police officers take money. You know what I mean? I've seen it with my own eyes.
Dude, it's weird, man. Like, you're right.
World.
We're and I just feel like some of these states are like essentially different countries. Mm-hmm. Like Texas versus California might as well be different countries,
right?
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, we don't see a lot of this stuff here. I mean, this is such a good place. And that's another reason why.
Another reason I'm here.
Why we always preach on it. Like, a good place to live.
Move here from California, all you want.
Yeah.
And
keep coming.
Yeah, keep coming. And so I think from the textile business, I learned a lot of my sales. I watched some really good salesmen do their job, especially a woman out of Atlanta. She was a hustler. She was a go-getter, and just picked up on a lot of things, people skills. And I didn't understand at the time that I had people skills and that I could be confident and sell things. I was kind of just managing salesmen, so I didn't have to really interact a whole lot. And so I stayed in that industry for a while, and then before I moved here, I watched your podcast with Austin. I thought that was a really good,
cool.
good podcast.
Yeah,
and I related a lot to his story, with Austin Linney, and would love to meet you, Austin.
Yeah, we'll set that up.
Yeah. So, I went through a divorce. I was down and out. I was drinking a lot. I was homeless for a month, living out of my car.
Straight up?
Before I moved here, yeah, straight up.
What were you doing? Like, what were you doing during the day and stuff?
I was trying to work. I was trying to, like, get my life together. And eventually I knew people here in Austin. So let's back up. At that time, I was working in the mortgage industry. I just got, after a long divorce, we had gotten back together and then separated again. So I was kind of out of the house there.
Is this in Louisiana?
In Louisiana, yeah, outside of. I'm from a small town in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans called Gonzales. We have a Cabela's, so I think that's kind of what we're known for there. But I think I think sometimes you just count yourself down and out, and I've had experience. I was a really good processor. So I started in the mortgage industry in Louisiana as a processor. And I worked for a high-producing loan officer. This woman, she was from Mississippi, and she was just the absolute loan officer, that I worked for and learned from. Just an animal, in the office at 4, leaving at 9 p.m., doing on average, even in Louisiana, and when I say like 6 to 7 million a month, in Baton Rouge or outside of Baton Rouge, that's a lot of money for that area. Yeah. You have to understand that market's not in a great place.
What are ballpark average?
Average lower 2s probably.
Mm-hmm. So it'd be like doing double here in Austin.
Yeah,
you'd be doing
like double
that.
Now that's probably gone up since then, but yeah, I would say lower 2s, probably mid 2s at the most would be your average. So just a real grinder, and so I kind of picked up on a few things, and you make a lot of mistakes starting out in this industry, and so I think my route to the lending world as a loan officer was, I'm pretty happy the way I did it. I started off in the processing side, so I understand the back end of the loans, what goes into that. Mm-hmm. And so, so I had experience. I wasn't interested in being a loan officer at that time. But after the separation between me and my ex-wife, and having to decide whether I wanted to stick it out or change my life, I think something like in my head just clicked. Like I was like, you know what, I'm sick of this. Like I'm gonna change everything about my life, and I did. I was like, I knew Austin was a hot market. I had been knowing for years that Austin was a place that potentially I would like to go. That maybe it was a place that I could really be a good loan officer, mm-hmm. and that's kind of was the dream I had. But before that, I went to Colorado. I took a job interview. I was going to be a lender for the cannabis world, and so I got flown out to Colorado in a limo. Pick me up.
What company? Do you remember? Or?
I do not. I'll get you that information.
Yeah, just curious if it's...
So basically their deal was the government's not loaning these dispensaries money, right? And so they were a group formed with private investors, and they would lend money, anywhere from $20 to $1 million.
Wow.
I'm not sure at what interest rate that was at. I'm assuming it'd be higher than normal, because the industry is there's not a whole lot of regulations to it yet. So...
They're still, right now, they're doing loans at like 13%.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the case, and very similar to what these guys were doing. But my friend's dad owned the company, so I checked it out. It just, in my opinion, it was a great job, but too far from the kids. Mm-hmm. So I got kids that are teenagers now, and I wanted to be somewhere where I could drive home on the weekends if I needed to. So Austin was it, man. Packed up, drove out here, stayed with a friend for a little while, and haven't drank a sip of alcohol since that moment. In almost 4 years now, and life it really changed.
Yeah.
And so what I did when I first got to Austin is I walked into these random mortgage companies. I didn't know who owned it, what they were about, if they were a respectable company. Just walked in, with a sports coat on, and said, "Hey, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do," and got great feedback. Got a job within, I think, the first week. Great salary, and so basically what I took was a salary position with commission on top. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it allows me to have money for rent, plus I can hustle my way to get more money. And that's exactly what I did. And I've changed companies twice since then in the first year, but I've been with Supreme Lending ever since. I really found my home there. So
anytime you can get a salary in the real estate business, you're doing well.
The thing is, you can really pull that off in the lending side.
Yeah.
You can really be a loan officer's assistant. You could be a processor. Not so much. Processors do get bonuses, commission, whatever.
It's interesting. So a couple things. One, like I thought about getting my lender license or whatever it was, like at the beginning of COVID, because I was like, how do I do something new? And I'm like, man, this is complicated. Like
it's hard,
and I think it's good for people like you because it deterred me pretty quickly. I didn't really want it bad enough, but it prevents having 16,000 realtors, right? And so like it seems like there's a little insulation there. It's not that easy to get into, in my opinion. But I just want to throw that out there. But my question was like, you seem to have done a really good job of getting around different opportunities. Back to the Louisiana lender, the cannabis in Colorado, the thing in New Zealand, like the jacket or the textile clothing. Like, what was it that you did that like you were able to like find pretty good opportunities? Were you always just hunting and just talking to a lot of people?
Yeah, I think I'm a lot like we talked about this before. I'm really good. It depends on what mood I'm in, but I'm pretty good about just digging in. Like, okay, what do you do? What is that like? Tell me about the worst moments that you do, right? What are the struggles that you have? And so after asking around, and I think in my head I have this larger picture of what it looks like, and it comes down to balance. Like, how am I going to... It's like the lenders, right? There's a lot of money to be made, so there's that aspect, which is very appealing. Not many people are good at it, to be honest, and you have freedom there. And so once I found out those three things, I was like, okay. And I closed my first few loans. I was like, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really good at this, I feel.
Good money.
I'm good at it. It's fun. It's kind of keeps you on edge a little bit. Like, are we really going to close?
Yeah. What do you think, why does somebody, like, because I look at a banker versus a lender as different, right? Obviously, a banker can be a lender.
Right.
But like a traditional community banker versus someone like you, like, why would you pick one or the other? To me, it seems like the banker role is a little bit more secure, probably less upside. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I had the opportunity to go into a bank, and so I'll just talk about briefly what I noticed compared to what I do now. And first of all, you don't technically need a license to work in a bank, so you could eliminate your test there. Now, I don't know much about banks as far as the lenders that work there and what they are required, but I think most are required to have licenses, but I don't think legally you don't have to have one.
Is it like being a leasing agent for an apartment complex?
Probably so.
You don't have to have your license to do that.
Which is weird rules, right? Like, we have to have a license, but they don't. So there's that. Also, we get paid a little bit. Now, I don't know about every lender that works at a bank, but I know most get paid a lot more percentages on the loans than say we do. So the pay at the bank that I interviewed with when I first got to Austin wasn't appealing to me. Also, there's a lot of aspects to working at a bank compared to, and I'm not bashing on people that work at banks. I know a lot of good people that do a really good job at certain banks, but that's the case. They have to be really good at what they do, and that's hard to find in a bank because most of the people I work with come from banks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's interesting for me, like, we have great banking relationships, and we're going in there and like we're doing these refis, and they're like seeing all the money we're making, and they even tell us, they're like, I got to do what you guys are doing, and so it's weird because you're seeing all this stuff. Yeah, and so some ways you have all the power as being at the bank, and I've seen a lot of people transition. Like, one of our, do you know Joseph? Maybe not. He's at Guarantee. He just left, and it's like, I'm wondering if that's like a natural progression. You sit there, you see these deals, and you're like, I'm done just being on the sidelines. I want to get in. Yeah,
that's kind of it. You're like, you see the money, or you hear about the money that other people are making per deal. You can close a $400,000 home. With a private lender, or you can go to a bank and you see the money. The difference is thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but a lender doesn't have that struggle, I would say, for the most part, because
Right.
you do have unlimited potential.
Yeah, you can do as much as you want. And so another thing is, with banks compared to, say, the company that I'm with, I have a really good branch manager, John McClellan, outstanding guy who he helps us grow as a team. And if I'm struggling with something, like, hey, the underwriter's denying this file, John, I walk into his office, say, how do we fix this? So certain files that say we're at a bank would probably not close because our processors, underwriters are all in-house. So I have the ability to walk to the back and say, look, explain to me why this isn't working and how can we fix it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not many people have that option.
Dude, it's a weird world. And Alex, I'll let you ask some questions because I know you're interested about the industry. But the more that you get in it and understand it, there are all these little intricacies.
Yeah.
When you're on the outside, it's like you get shut down and you think it's done, but you realize there's all these different layers and different aspects. And I learned the hard way when I was first getting started. Nobody would give me a loan. Yeah. And I ended up getting a big line of credit from a community bank when Wells Fargo wouldn't give me 10 grand. Yeah. It didn't make any sense. Yeah. And so it's just interesting. The more and more you're in this business, you realize you just got to keep pushing, ask the right questions. And there's usually a workaround some way, just like you, the loan gets, denied, you go, and then I'm like, what can we do? You go talk to your guy. Yeah. There is something.
There's an ego thing too. And don't ever take no for an answer, and I think that's the thing. And I'm the first to admit if I can't do something, I'll say, hey, why don't you call this guy and just see if there's anything. I'm not sure that he can, but it's worth a try. Maybe I missed something. Yeah. And it's hard to say. You won't see many loan officers saying that. But
yeah, you did that to me.
Yeah, I did that to you. I was like, hey, why don't you try, this guy or this setup? Because I know what my rules and regulations are, my overlays are what they called. And so typically I know what I've been able to get by with and what not. And so if it becomes an issue, I'm like, you're probably better off going over here. So, and I'll just give you an example. I had a realtor that works for you recently have a loan that several loan officers have denied. Mm-hmm. And this is just an example of how this industry works, where I have done a few loans where the parents are selling their kid the house. Okay, and there's a way to do that. Well, they bring no money to the closing table. Okay, and it's called a gift of equity, right? And so
is it $15K? Or
no.
No set amount.
No set amount. Okay. So let's give an example here where most people would have looked at this file and said the guy doesn't make enough money, doesn't have any money in his bank account, $100 maybe, and just doesn't have a way to get this thing closed. And so he was denied, and frankly, I almost denied him, but if you kind of dig in a little bit, and I think this is the great part about being a loan officer is you get to help people, first-time home buyers, a young kid, literally in his 20s, going to own his first home. Parents have to be willing not to make that much money off their home. They technically could sell that home for a lot more money and get the difference off of what they owe and have a ton of equity and make some money. But instead, they get to keep the house, they sell it to their kid, and the family home stays, in the family.
So is this, in this situation, they wanted to sell their home and get into a new house and therefore just sold it to the son or whoever?
They wanted their kids to have a place to live, yet they wanted to get some money from the home. So the son needs to get a loan, right, from me. So I'm going to pay off their current mortgage and then pay off and give them a little extra added money. And then the son's going to take over the loan. Now, say the home's worth, we'll just say $200,000, right? They only want $100,000 for the house. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put the sales price, whatever they need to pay off, and I'm going to do a 20% down gift of equity. So basically, on the contract, it says line 12, they're going to pay seller concessions and they're going to give a gift of equity. So they can use the equity in the home as a down payment. And that's the secret.
Is that pretty uncommon? Do you think most lenders don't? I have honestly, I've heard of people gifting, but for tax purposes, you can give, I think that's where maybe you can give $15K or $20 without it being taxed.
There's percentages on different loans. There's 6% on FHA and conventional and stuff like that. So there's only for seller concessions. Mm-hmm. And so there are limits to that. Now, gifts, conventional is unlimited. So technically, you could have a family from South America want to buy their kids a house and gift them $100,000. They just have to wire the money to title. Doesn't even have to be sourced technically. So
wow.
It's amazing what you can do. I mean, there's a lot of options and things to do when you can't really figure.
Why would it not be allowed for, say, I can get qualified for a loan, whatever it may be, whichever loan program. I have great credit, I have great income, but for whatever reason, I don't have a down payment. Why would it not be allowed, or why is there a regulation against Matt giving me my down payment to get that loan? Why does it matter where the down payment comes from?
It's a good point. It has to technically be labeled as a family member.
But why is that? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Because isn't that weird? Like if I qualify and every other reason, I mean, as long as
I think it has to do with fraud, right? I think what they don't want is someone going into a deal and just say, technically, Matt really wants the house, but he's going to get you to buy it for him. So it's going to be under your name, but it's going to be his house. So technically, he doesn't qualify, but you're going to be the one on the loan. He's going to gift you the money. I'm thinking that has something to do with that, right? There's some kind of the mortgage industry is, and with all the new rules after the crash, it's really about fraud. It's about income. It's about fraud, and underwriters are just trying to prove that you make the income and that there's nothing fraudulent going on.
Have you ever experienced like any high level massive issues on any level
as fraudulent?
Yeah, like I mean, have you heard of anyone or talked to anyone that did something and then it came back? I mean, I don't hear about it often.
I don't really hear about it too often. I've seen money get. I've seen some wire funds get hacked and taken. Wired fraud is real. I've seen $60,000 get wiped away in about a matter of seconds.
They get it back?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know
what happens in those situations.
In those situations, I don't know for sure, but I do know this, that the bank technically isn't liable for that money. Okay.
Once it's wired.
So you have that. Now, I don't really know. I have heard that people get most of their money back. I think the CFPB or someone gets involved to track that money down. There's FBI. They get involved. And
yeah, it's like, why can't you just find out where it went to?
Offshore, right? So they track it offshore, but then it gets into a bunch of other different accounts once it gets offshore. I've seen wire fraud twice.
How does it happen, though? So, like, say...
I'll tell you exactly how it happens.
I've seen one example of, like, a new email chain created.
Mm-hmm. And there's a link on the
You
email.
and I are closing, and then... it's Amy at independencetitle.com. And then it comes from Amy with 2 E's at Independent. And
exactly.
She emails you and me and says, hey, here's the wire instructions. And we just send them. Like they jump into this email thread and totally hijack
That's exactly
it.
how it happens.
So how do they get a hold of that email thread?
Good question. Phishing. I think it's phishing. Yeah.
Just leaked or hacked somehow.
So for our company,
every email in and out of a title company, these guys know how to hack. And
so it happens from consumer to the guy frauding you, not necessarily from bank to fraud.
No, it's usually, to be honest, I think title gets hacked or someone gets phished, right? So they send an email saying Bed Bath and Beyond. Here's a discount. Click here. So they click, and what happens is they get access. Yeah. I don't know what they get access to, but apparently it's to their system, their database, and they can send these emails to where they look just like an email from a title company. I've seen them too. I mean, it's pretty scary. Yeah. And so you would see how easy it is for someone to click on that. So what I tell people is, look, once you get don't take wiring instructions except it's from title. Call title once you get them and confirm right before you wire the money. So ever since then, that was 2 years ago, I've seen that happen. And I will not tell a person to wire money without calling the title company to confirm the wiring instructions.
And usually title now is pretty proactive.
Pretty serious, yeah.
Well, I'm actually glad that title calls to confirm our wire instructions. Now, I was getting pretty annoyed. It's like, look, y'all got the wire instructions. Just wire the money because they're calling all the time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why they do that.
I'm pretty glad they do
you
it.
need to make sure that stays into effect. You don't want to lose that money. And it goes away in the blink of an eye. And then you have legal obligations and things to do, and you may get half of it back. You may get all of it back, but I just don't know. But so I know you wanted to know more about what my company is about and how we operate. And we one thing about Texas, allergies. they kill me.
Mm-hmm.
They're terrible.
I thought it was the coffee. The coffee, when I have too much coffee, I get like
no,
that.
man, allergies, they eat me alive. And
Yeah.
I don't get them in Louisiana, but here I do. So Supreme Lending is a private bank. So I know I watched quite a few of you guys' podcasts, and I know you had a lender on here. And you know, I'm not a broker. I'm a private banker, a mortgage banker, loan officer, whatever you want to call it. So I operate out of one facility, and we're our own bank. So we don't shop around for other mortgages. And there's the pros and cons to that. You know,
is it private money? Is there like a bunch of investors that have money tied up with you guys, and y'all just lending it?
Sort of. And so how it works is we have an owner, Scott Everett, awesome guy, in Dallas. And how it works is we have a line of credit, $1 billion line of credit.
$1 billion.
So if you want to know how to make money in this thing, if you want to get into wholesaling mortgages, you got to get $1 billion line of credit.
You make the spread.
Make the spread. And so basically what happens is, say this year has been, we've had to probably borrow more money than we have in the past, obviously, but say we make $2 billion a month in mortgages, okay, for Supreme Lending. We borrow maybe, $1 million or $1.5 billion, sorry. And so what happens is we have to sell those loans fairly quickly, right? So we can to up
the government institutions.
Fannie Mae, yeah, typically Fannie Mae, and so we'll have to sell those loans within 2 or 3 days.
Where do you get paid there?
Yeah, so I'm going to explain that.
Okay.
And how do we get $1 billion line of credit?
That's a good question. I would definitely tell you if I knew or have one. I would say you probably have to have money already or some equity.
$300 million, something.
Yeah.
You gotta have track record, cash,
business, probably
very
$1 billion
successful
line of credit.
You know what I thought though is you could probably you could open up your own branch as a loan officer, probably do fairly well, and if you do well, maybe go to one of these wholesale warehouse lenders and say, I need a line of credit, and maybe start off low.
Yeah, you have a good system and that you can prove.
Yeah, they would want to see how you operate. So I think that's the way in, to be honest. But how we make money is we borrow this money, right? We have a line of credit, and so we fund these loans. Say there's a $400,000 loan, we fund it, and we get that money at 100%. Okay, well we're going to sell that loan to Fannie Mae for 105%.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's how the money's made, and then Fannie Mae's going to make money off of the interest long term, right? So they're in it for the long run, we're in it for short term. So it's basically borrowing money. So I borrow money from a bank, and they're going to charge me whatever the cost is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell it to this other person for 5% more. Okay? They're willing to buy that because they know over the long run, if they're willing to hold on to that money and they have the capacity to hold on to $400,000 for 20, 15 years, 30 years,
right,
they can handle that. Most people cannot, right? But the government, Fannie Mae, can. And so it's pretty simple, but that's how you make money with mortgages, and that's how rates are set. It's because every mortgage company, especially private, they're all about the same. They're borrowing money at the same rate. They're going to charge the same rate, even banks. But you can imagine that this year, people are doing, $2 to $5 to $20 billion a month.
How big is y'all's company?
I think we do somewhere around $2 to $3 billion a month.
That's insane.
Now this is nationwide.
In funded loans?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it is nationwide? Mm-hmm. How many states are y'all in?
That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that. I think I know so our biggest offices are California, San Diego, and Atlanta. That's the two biggest. I know we have John McClellan region here in Austin's probably the fourth or fifth, and I think there's 20 to 30.
But it was started in Dallas?
Yeah, Scott Everett. Technically our name is Everett Financial. And so he started Supreme Lending, and I don't know his history about how he got started in it, but he's a go-getter. He's an extremely charismatic guy and open, with his employees about where he wants to take the direction. And to be honest, man, we don't have a whole lot of rollover as far as the people that have been there for a while stay there. Once you find a company that's going to offer, and so what I'll say the difference is, and like you said with the bank, is we have all in-house, right? I don't personally get beat. People sometimes say that my rates can be high for Supreme, but I don't usually get beat on rate, to be honest. I haven't gotten a beat out on a rate in a while. And so I don't really have that problem. Like when you quote a loan at 2.3 or 2.5, I mean,
that's pretty low.
Yeah. Who's coming in at 1.9, which is pretty rare. But
maybe you don't want to answer this, but so I'm listening to one of Donald Trump's audiobooks. I randomly found it the other day. And he's talking about negotiating with lenders. And I'm just curious how maybe often that happens, or how frequently someone should negotiate with their lender to get a lower rate.
Yeah, it's a tough, and most lenders won't be honest about this. But I'll be honest. You will always find a lower rate if you look for it. Always. So if you're in it for the long run and you're going to shop around, somebody that's new maybe would be willing to cut their commission, or whatever they have to do. Their company may be willing to cut their commission to give you a lower rate to compete. Now, is that something you're willing to do? Or do you have 45 days to close? Do you have 60? Do they know what they're doing? Are they going to be able to qualify you? Are you going to? And so the important thing is, are you going to lose your inspection money and your earnest money by going with someone new or someone that's going to offer you a low rate? There's got to be a reason they offer you that low rate. It's like online lenders. Lending Trees, and I haven't gotten beat by Lending Tree in a while, but at first they were offering drop dead low prices, right, or rates, and so. But what was happening is they don't have a person that you're talking to, right? It's going through. Someone's taken the file, right? They're going to review it. They're going to send it to a junior processor. Junior processor's going to look at it, send it to a processor, and these are all in different states, right? Then it's going to go to an underwriter, then possibly an underwriter, and then you got to communicate to see. Yeah. In my opinion, and after working at other places, I like to have control over all those areas. So I want to be able to talk to the processor, the underwriter, my manager. Okay, where are we at? What's going on? Can we fix this? What's needed? Because what I do is what's the biggest problem with lenders that you find? Is it communication?
Yeah, probably. They're always promising. And then they're like, oh, this came up, and this is like, man.
Oh, we'll get it done in 15 days.
Yeah, so it's
60 days later.
It's always last minute problems, right? And so what I've been good at is you have to, and that may be the case with all lenders, right? Because things do come up. But expectations up front have to be set. I can give you a pretty good idea up front after I review income documents and credits report and stuff like that, what it's going to be. I'll usually let people this is going to be a little complicated, right? It's not going to close in 30 days. It's going to be a little bit.
That for whatever reason, and I've never gone to you for a loan, but for whatever reason, lenders seem
We're coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. For whatever reason,
remember I got the
I know.
I'm like, you should be. We're almost at 3 months. Yeah.
For whatever reason, lenders seem to not be very. I don't know the way to put it.
Sure.
Not sure, but it seems like you're just getting oversold. I'd rather someone, look at me and say, nah, definitely can't do that right now. Or, hey, we can get this done, but we're going to need to follow these 10 steps. Instead of saying, oh, I got it. Send me this, send me that, and then send those two things in. It's like, oh, now we need this, and this. Oh, by the way, can you go back and tweak this?
It's never as easy as you. There should be no one saying, "Hey, I just need to do this and we're fine." It's not. It should never be like that, because if you've been doing this long enough, you know that things come up. And I work with a guy named Brian Campbell and John McClellan, and so what I've learned from those guys is, first thing you got to do is you've got to look at everything. You can never you don't want to overpromise, right? And I think that's where you get in trouble, especially with real estate agents. I'm real careful around how I treat real estate agents and what I tell them. Yeah. Because I'm a basic lender, right? I don't work with a whole lot of investors. I do some, but first-time home buyers, just people in Austin. My niche is just talking to people and getting loans, conventional FHA, VAs. Pretty basic run-of-the-mill stuff. And what you don't want to do is overpromise a real estate agent, because they want to close it in 20 days, and you really have to be upfront, and you have to say no sometimes. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They want the business, they get greedy, and they just they say, hey, I can do this, I promise.
Just like taking a listing, right? Like the owner wants $50K over ask, and you don't want to tell them they can't do it. If you're, there's a balance. Like if you're in sales, it's like, let me just get this signed up, and then later I'll get it for what I can sell it for.
Yep.
But there's that balance. Of
you have to be able to.
Lie.
Is your ego going to outweigh your greediness? And so it's like, can I overpromise because I want this agent? This is a top producing agent, right? Teifke, Matt comes up to me and says, hey, can you do this loan in 15 days? So this is how I would handle that. If it was an important deal and I knew there was business to get gained from that, I would first go to John and my processor. We have a processing manager, and she kind of knows what's going on in the background, like what's our turn times for appraisals and files and underwriters. And so I would probably check with her and see what the turn times are, and then go to John and say, hey, this is one of those files. And he knows what I'm talking about. Like, I got one of those files. I need a favor. I need you to rush it. And that this year has probably been unheard of, right? You can't really do that this year. It's just been too busy. It just can't be done. You'd have to say no. Like, I can't do it. But typically you could do that and say, hey, I need to do this. And sometimes you can, for the most part, you get it close. If you can't close it in 15, it'll be 16. But
what do you think about this? Because I am actually getting ready to refinance with you. Is it beneficial, or is it a waste of time if I was like, hey, look, I want to come in and do this refi. I want to bring my wife and us sit in a room for 6 hours and literally just do everything we possibly can right now and be done with it for the most part? Or is that just a waste of time? Because I've thought about that. Like, why not just go
for your
in?
file? Yes.
Okay. When it's complicated, like something like that?
I think, personally, if it was up to me, I would have you sit in a file with in a room with the underwriter and the processor and say, hey, this is what's going on with all these properties.
Ask them all your questions now.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
No, it's not really possible, to be honest. But I think as a loan officer, that's kind of what you want. Anyone that has multiple properties, LLCs, and just... You got to get the story right. You got to know. You don't want the underwriter to say, hey, what's this property? And you're like, I don't even know what that address is. Like, why is this showing up? Matt, hey, man, what's going on? Can you provide all this stuff? You know?
Forgot about that.
Forgot
we don't know.
Forgot we had the property in Colorado. But, it's things like that. Or you own something that comes up a lot is they own property, or just a block of land, in the middle of Texas, Llano or something. Someone had a piece of land there and just didn't know about it, forgot about it. Like, how do you forget about owning land?
Yeah, you need is a TC, a transaction coordinator for loans. Just handle all your paperwork.
I've got some land that I could have forgot about. This, I think this guy tried to scam me. I bought 4 lots in Elgin, and I knew I wasn't overpaying. I paid $5,000 for each. And
he should have called me.
He was trying to get me to buy them for $5 and then start buying them for $15, and we're selling the other ones for $20. And I never bought the other ones for $15.
Yeah. You just stopped at
and
$5.
So I've got these 4 random lots in Elgin that I paid $5,000 each for. And I literally I don't ever plan on going, and I plan on looking at these lots in 30 years and being like,
my grandfather used to do that.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Just small little single family lots.
My grandfather told me that years ago. He's like, if you have extra money, buy land. Just doesn't matter where. Just buy it and sit on it for years.
Dude, I totally agree, man. That's where my mind is at the moment, is trying to get some larger tracts.
Yeah. So my grandfather is...
Storage project.
That's a good idea. And I think another thing that I forgot to mention is I come from a family who started a huge chemical company. Roach spray and ant killer and stuff like that. And so...
LeBlanc Chemicals?
Bingle Chemical.
Bingle.
Mm-hmm. So it's in every Walmart, Home Depot,
really?
Lowe's, in the country.
Nice.
Grandfather got the patent from Vietnam and never looked back. So I think Raid is the number one competitor. And
what do you mean he got it from Vietnam?
There was they used to... The story that I hear is that they were spraying the forest there to keep the soldiers from getting malaria and from the mosquitoes, and whatever was in that chemical is pretty potent, but he bought the patent and brought it back. And obviously the EPA has changed it up so many times. It's unreal. But
who do you buy from? The government or?
I don't know. Some guy, I believe. Yeah, some Vietnamese company, and super cheap.
Huh. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Super cheap.
So he was there, deployed?
He was there briefly.
Briefly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Found out about
Smart
it.
Smart man.
Mm-hmm. Super business oriented.
I like it.
Yeah, he's the man. And he's a huge real estate guy. He's 80 years old now, and he's just killed it in real estate, commercial mainly. Mm-hmm. My dad as well. So they'll build metal buildings and then rent them out to sell them.
I need to talk to him. That's literally what I want to do.
He does it in the New Orleans area, Baton Rouge area. He's built medical facilities, apartment complexes, 400 units. From scratch.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's where
fill them up 90% and then sell them.
Mm. Mm-hmm. That's the pinnacle for me, developing.
It went on. 4 people went to a group, got a loan from Houston, and went from there. You can make a lot of money.
Yeah, I know a couple people that are building these metal buildings here in town, and dude, they just sell them before they finish them.
Yeah,
they're building them for like $35 a square foot, selling them for 120 square foot, just crushing it.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it, man. But back to your question with the Trump book and negotiating, I think it's important for people to know that you can always find a lower rate, right? But it's not to me. I know it seems like the most important thing, but let me just explain something. Say I'm offering someone a 2.875 rate. This happened the other day. No, sorry, it was 2.5. It's 2.5. She's getting an offer for 2.3. Okay. So the difference in that payment was $11 a month. It's from a bank. Their closing time's 45 days. Mine's literally 21. And I know that because I've been working on this file for months. It's a new build. I've taken this loan from the builder, which is another story, working with builders these days and their lenders. I took the loan from them. It's a super simple loan. The guy's retired. He has a set amount of income. He's got an 800 credit score, and so it's real simple. Bang, bang deal. All we have to worry about is the appraisal, right? Getting that within time. And so she's getting offered a 2.3, right, at another bank. And I told her, I was like, that's a lower deal. You're going to save $11 a month. I'll close you in 21. They're going to close you in 45. She goes, well, he hasn't called me back either. I was like, well, that's another thing. Like, who are you? We have a great relationship. And I do that often. Like, I will go through the ringer getting these people qualified, right? They're first-time home buyers, but then they start shopping, right? And that's fine. That's fairly normal. And I don't typically get beat. Maybe every once in a while, right? Maybe once every 3 months, somebody will switch lenders on me. And but that's okay. I'm open to that. It happens. I take people from other lenders as well. And so what I tell them is your experience with the largest, investment of your life, basically, so far for sure, are you willing to, take on lower customer service, for $11 a month? What is it worth to you?
I don't think it's the most important thing. And obviously the $11 isn't a huge deal. And there's other factors there: relationship, customer service, time to close. Are you actually going to close?
Yeah.
I was just curious, and I really wasn't even talking about like I get a offer from Matt, I come to you to say, hey, can you beat it? But more just negotiating. Just, is it possible to negotiate down, or is the rate the rate?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, so here's the thing. There's some certain things I can't get into, but there's it kind of comes down to like, can you beat this rate? Well, can you? It's possible. Is your company... I mean, here's the main thing: is your company willing to take less on the deal?
Yeah,
and so
you can.
It's a weird dynamic. Can you get manager approval? And to be honest, you're not getting it this year, right? They don't need it. There's no way you're gonna. They'll just say they're better to go to somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's so busy right now. So as a consumer, your negotiating skills have just gotten. The rates are so low. Personally, I don't think you need to. But
it's a weird dynamic for me because I always value paying people. I don't really even want to negotiate.
Right.
But you understand the value of getting the good rate. I've never had the luxury because we've always been like, I've always been stretching, like taking a risk and bringing on more than most people would take. So I'm doing hard money and all these higher interest rates.
Yeah,
stuff.
super high risk. Yeah.
But now I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of ready to refinance and get the good rate.
Yep.
But I really don't, what sucks is like, I don't want to go just knock everyone down, but I do want to get the best I can get. And what sucks is like there's going to be I just want to get the deal done and feel good about it, but there's going to be people that are way less involved than me and not going to be doing as many deals that are going to get better rates than me because of that fact, which really does suck. You see what I'm saying? Like I hate that. Like I'm a full-time real estate entrepreneur, broker, and Tommy that's just internet shopping is getting better rates than me. Possibly. That really sucks.
Possibly. I don't know if that's completely the truth. You're going to get good rates.
Yeah.
It's hard not to get good rates right now, but if Bobby is online shopping and a bank's offering him 1.97 or something, what you don't know is all the factors, right? There's a lot of things that go in. Say someone who takes on a lot of debt and has a high ratio, credit score is not quite, maybe they're at 700 exactly. which seems good, right? But you're not getting.
Yeah, and there's a bigger picture, right? Like if I work with you instead of going with Lending Tree, well, you're already sending us business,
right,
in general, and we're going to send us more business if we keep working with you.
Correct. So there's a relationship involved locally, and that's another thing. I moved here 3 years ago, almost 4 years now, and do you understand how hard it is to get into the lending business in a new city? Yet, I've done fairly well, and I think it's really
just having like the network and the
man, just really introducing yourself. And I really didn't know how it worked at first. As far as I knew that my boss back in the day was talking to realtors and meeting with people, and I saw her with people all the time. I just didn't quite put two to two together. I just wanted to get my job done and go home. But man, just the relationships, like you just introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Glynn. I'm a mortgage banker.
Yeah.
It's all you have to say, but people need to know what you do.
You're right, man.
They need to know what you do. It's like playing softball in league night. I've made great connections, with my team, and people that I play against. Like, hey, what are you doing? Have you refied? I don't get into that stuff often, but you hear people talking. Like, hey man, I'm going to refi, and then boom, that's my end. And just you tell people what you do, and then some friend calls, hey man, so and so gave me your number, and it just it's been picking up ever since I got here. Yeah, and it's just a testament to just being, I think, honest, a good person, and being open.
And the more you get into it, like one thing I've been thinking about lately is like, what are the money making activities that people are doing? Mm-hmm. Like you see what it looks like, but what are they doing that actually makes money? And it's a lot of the time.
It's a lot of times it's the free stuff, right? It's the stuff about, hey, hearing the no. Right, you talk about that a lot. Like, how many no's did you get? I get a lot of no's. I call realtors at other companies and say, hey, this is so-and-so. I closed a loan for your listing, right? So I'll call listing agents just to kind of get an idea and see if they're open to talking to a new lender. A lot of people say, I'm working with a lender already, but you also get that one that says, hey, yeah, I'm glad to meet with you, and here's something different that I can offer. Mm-hmm. Whether it be down payment assistance or whether it be, I call you back. I'm always available. Weekends, 24 hours it seems these days, right? I was working on Thanksgiving, calls nonstop. And sometimes if you do that kind of stuff, you do get calls back. Unfortunately, it takes away from your personal life, but I don't look at it that way. I think there's a I'm grateful for what I have today, and so I'm willing to work hard to get it. And so if it means working when other people don't want to, got to do it, right? Especially if you're starting out in Austin, Texas, and you only been here 4 years. It's really been kind of the thing that's really set me apart has been the communication and being available.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with taking phone calls on Thanksgiving.
No. There's not. But
if you like what you do, if you hated what you did, I'm sure that it would suck.
But you know what I hear?
Thanks for giving me the call. I'll make some money.
Yeah. You know what you hear when you're at a party? Like, for instance, when you're at somewhere and your phone's ringing off the hook, people say, why do you have to answer that? I heard that several times.
You going to pay me for my time?
Exactly.
Nope, this phone call is.
Right. See you later.
I had that discussion with my brother. Yeah. I'm like, dude, we're living totally different lives. This is how I make money. Yeah. I got to take this call.
Got to take the call. I'm sitting in the yard on my AirPods, just on the phone, and people are like, "Where's Glynn?" And to be honest, that's kind of the sacrifice. Like, if you want to make above average money, you got to spend more above average time, to do that, and if not more. And
it's good having people that understand that.
You gotta
us three, if we're just having lunch, whatever, and your phone, we're like, take that call, dude.
Yeah, gotta
that's
take
what
it.
I do. Even when I'm meeting with people, you got it, take it.
Yeah,
get it.
You got to be in the game. It's just like softball or whatever. I was telling Matt yesterday how Thanksgiving.
He hated that. He hated.
Did you hate it?
It died off Wednesday till what's today? Tuesday till yesterday, and it was nobody was
he didn't
playing.
know what to do.
You're exactly right.
Nobody was playing, and then Monday is like full steam ahead, and it was like, thank God.
That's funny you say that. I noticed the same thing about people. I noticed that it died down a little bit. I did get some calls, but not as much. And then yesterday it started to pick up again.
I like solving problems, and when the game stops, there's no problems to solve within that game.
You should be a loan officer if you like solving problems. Seriously,
I like building things and solving problems.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a loan officer.
Unfortunately, I think you would get bored.
That $1 billion line of credit and have some loan officers.
Yeah, I think.
And there's also different environments. Like I think Austin is a little bit more laid back and relaxed. Like this girl that is going to come work with me from DC.
I heard that on your last podcast.
She said, someone said, you guys take the whole week off for Thanksgiving. And she was like, that's crazy. Like nothing slows down here in DC. And I was like, that's interesting. It's like probably just a totally different environment. Like we people do take the whole week off.
Yeah,
here.
it's true. We're a lot laid back here, and it's the same thing with where I'm from. You know, it just depends on. I think in the South in general, it's kind of like that. And I think once you get to the Northwest or Northeast, it's a little bit more high energy all the time. People don't understand what taking off means, and I think that's why there's a lot of money to be made in those cities. New York, Washington, Chicago, Chicago. I work with investors from Chicago currently.
I'd love it, man. I would love, the nonstop,
the big cities,
the nonstop hustle.
Maybe like I could see Alex on a one of those TV shows in New York City. Investors.
I wouldn't want to be on TV, but I would want to just always be in the game.
Yeah.
I want to have the choice to step out of the game if I want to. I don't want the game to stop.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It makes sense. And I think you've done a really good job about. I think what I've noticed about you, Alex, is once you get your mind on something, like you really, just watching from an outside standpoint, like you go for it and you just don't stop, right? And then you achieve your goals. And I think a lot of us have to do that.
I had to over Thanksgiving, dude. Yeah. It stopped and I picked up churrasco barbecue. I was like, seriously. It's the game.
I don't know what that is.
It's the Brazilian steakhouse style. I was like, I am going to commit, these next 4 or 5 days to learn as much as I can about churrasco barbecue.
There you go. Did you learn anything?
Yep, I got the skewers on the way. Got it.
It's fascinating when you realize when you go all in what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
Like you can do like the 4-hour work week and stuff like that. Like you can get so much done.
So let's just say you can look at what your capacity is by mine is. So I've worked really hard to get where I'm at this year, right? My income has grown since I got to Austin, right? Boom, 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 boom. Then 2020 hits. So it's like a huge step up. And so you learn what you're capable of. Like how many loans are you capable of juggling at the same time? That number's somewhere around 20 at the most, for sure.
2020 is the new bar, I guess.
It has to be.
Like
for me, I mean, I wasn't around, in the early days, so I don't know what it was like. I came into this business after all the regulations, so it's all I know, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I've been told it's probably the best because you don't know any of the old ways to do things. So
stated income loans.
I wasn't involved on stated income. I heard those were coming back, but there's no way that's possible.
No.
Yeah.
I
saw a Facebook ad, and I was like, that's false.
Not with all the documents we have to currently provide.
No. And so, you kind of learn, like, so 2020 is a new bar, right? What are you capable of doing? Like, how much can you work? And then you have to learn, the more successful you come, like, what's your balance? Like, what else are you doing to keep a clear head? Right? Are you meditating in the morning? Are you spending some time alone? And are you working out? And what I haven't done on 2020 is I've gained 15 pounds. I have not spent a whole lot of time on myself, and working all the time is okay. I can handle it. You know what I mean? It's fine. I quite like my job, but what happens is that everything else goes away.
Yeah.
And so I become a little unhappy. Money, I've learned, doesn't really make me that happy. I think it's more about just helping people and it's like problem solving, right? You want to get it done, and once you get to the closing table, you're
what's next?
Awesome. Yeah. Like, let's move on. I got another closing tomorrow, right? We're going to get that done. Well, we're not closing. We got some title issues. Well, let's get that fixed. Boom, boom, boom. So
I wonder if that's a curse.
There's never enough money. When you think like that. I mean, you can make a $10 million and then you want to make 50.
It's not the money though. I mean,
it's really not.
I wonder if it's a curse though, because I never truly really enjoy the things that I have accomplished, because it's like goal accomplished, property bought, whatever it is, done. All right, on to the next.
Exactly.
I never enjoy it. It's like,
but I think,
next.
To me, I think everyone always tries to make things black or white. It's like, it's this or that. You have to do this or that, but it's never like that. And you're at a growth stage. So that makes sense that you think like that. And things are going to change. And things have changed for me with having 2 kids. Yeah. I don't have to grow. I used to wake up and be like, Lexi, I don't have enough going on. I got to get something going on. I
could see that about you. Yeah.
I hated it. It's like, I'm good. I still want to keep growing and be ambitious, but there's different phases of life. There's never one exact answer. I think what you're talking about is perfect for trying to grow. Mm-hmm. Like, forget about celebrating, just keep going and grow.
I think as humans, we just all want to keep, I mean, most of us, right? And I used to not be like this. I used to be very depressed and just kind of down and out, but then something clicks in and we just have to have things to make us feel accomplished and to conquer, I guess. Like
you got to have goals. Always have to have a goal.
You have to have goals, and whether you have I don't necessarily have a 5-year plan or anything, but I have goals that I want to meet by that time. I set annual goals, right? What do I want to do this year? I don't want to meet this income, right? I want to close this many units. I want to get into shape, right? I want to have this going on in my life. I want to be able to take my kids to Colorado, so I set these goals and they're pretty easy to accomplish. And what I've noticed though, is if you get those goals a little bit harder, like I want to buy a ranch, I want to buy my first investment property November next year, right? I'm building a house right now.
Nice.
Be done in February. And right after that, it's on to the next one. So we'll be looking for investment properties, Mm-hmm. And so, goals, accomplishments, but it's still, do you feel satisfied with what you got?
Mm-hmm.
Kids.
Well, I think that's kind of where it lies for me personally is, and I'm sure it probably does for you too as well. Those, I don't know, man. Maybe it's because the accomplishments or the property, it's not like those things make me feel good necessarily. Like mm-hmm. I feel best when I'm alone meditating in the morning, mm-hmm. or when I'm spending time with my girl and our dog, right? Or when you're spending time with Lexi and your 2 kids, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Those, I don't know what it is. It's just I just have to build something. Yeah. I have to build something. I have to continue
moving forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Progress, man. You got to have, we all have to have progress.
Well, because I think if you're stagnant, I mean, what happens when you're stagnant, especially for people like you and I, Alex, you get very depressed and you start to feel unaccomplished. And then what happens is the mind, when you have a mind that really is, abnormal or trying to take you down or just not real motivating, then you have to treat that with something. Mm-hmm. You guys talked about it on another podcast. Like you have to find something to use that energy for, mm-hmm. And whether it be in different areas, real estate's been typically a good one, or anything, lending. Long as that mind's keeping working, like for you, I think it's going to keep you happy. You never know. So that's a good thing. You got to have this guy on your team, continuing to grow. And Austin's, it's the limit, you got, it's unlimited with growth. We just need inventory, right?
Mm-hmm. We just need to create it. You were talking about mobsters and mm-hmm. who was the lawyer, Giuliani?
Yeah.
There's this show on CNBC that's been coming on in the evenings. Mm-hmm. I forget what it's called, but it's about people who have built New York. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting how, like, Donald Trump or there was the queen of real estate in New York.
I know who you're talking about.
It's the older lady. Mm-hmm. I don't know her name. I forget her name.
Barbara would be pissed.
I know.
Barbara thinks she's the queen.
Mm-hmm. Well, this lady and her husband owned pretty much all, a lot of New York. Mm-hmm. And anyways, it's very interesting how New York City and that real estate was very publicized. And like Donald Trump was going on the news talking about real estate all the time, or he was going to meet the mayor or city council or whoever, and there's all this publicity in these new buildings. And I wish I was wondering when or if Austin would ever get to that publicly kind of.
I don't think so.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but this is like New York's the freaking world ground of the true melting pot here, and
but apparently New York was not doing that great in the 80s or whenever it was, and then it got on the upswing with real estate.
Yeah, they have got like a group of people came in and started to really invest in the real estate and make it take off. It really was. Like, you can hear stories about Times Square being a bad place to go.
Yeah.
And then once all these people changed the culture in that town, and I think it has a lot to do with politics, man. You got to talk about who's running the city. Like, I think when Rudy took over as mayor, the whole city changed. Like, he put investors and he put money in there. He changed the whole culture of the city. It's safer. I think the main thing was it got safer. And once a city gets safer, it has room to grow. Yeah. And you'll notice that about any cities. Like, what's Chicago doing right now? It's getting blown out the water, right, because of violence. And I see that changing soon. I mean, Chicago has been a great city for years, but
Chicago is so beautiful.
It is, but it's so dangerous. I have investors. I had one call me yesterday. He's buying a home here. He said there's, I don't know how many people getting shot a day, but it's just it's insane. And so he's taking his money out of that market and putting it in Austin. Now, Austin is a great market right now, right? So people from California and Chicago mainly and New York are really putting their money in the city. We just have to find them the right place to put it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and it's growing. It's obviously not stopping anytime soon. I wish that it was that way. The real estate game.
I know what you're saying, but I think Austin has that sense of you don't want it to be that way.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I
think old Austin doesn't want it to be that way. Maybe people moving here don't want it to be that way necessarily because they're moving away from that to a certain extent. But I don't think you're going to stop the progression towards.
No, listen, Alex. I think the city's going to grow. I think you're going to have growth. You know, whether it's, I don't know if it'll be as big as like say Houston or anything like that, but it's going to, your skyline. Just imagine how much the skyline's going to change over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a picture of that? They have these ideas of what's being built.
Yeah.
It's insane. And so, just imagine over 10 years what the city's going to be like. It's going to be different. It's going to grow. It's going to be insane in my opinion, but I think you want to keep, and the reason I'm here and I think a lot of people are coming here is because there's an outdoor feel to this place. There's an energy. There's people are real laid back. You don't want the big city rustle and bustle of what Alex wants, you know. But
I agree, and you know that's what I'm thinking. Like, you know, if you truly wanted that, like you should move to New York. Like, I mean, that really,
no, just create it here.
No, because I've thought about that. Like, if your goal is to make as much money as you possibly could, you probably would go to New York. Yeah.
But it's not about money.
But like the New York type culture, in my opinion, is what leads to people like Nate Paul doing what they did here.
Exactly. Who is Nate Paul?
Long story, but he was.
I've heard that name.
He was buying everything. Mm-hmm. He was like what Donald Trump was doing in a very small level in Austin, and bought hundreds of millions of dollars of property. Now the FBI's got him. And he was raising money, and he still owns.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that cult mindset and culture, that's what exists in New York that really doesn't exist here. People didn't like him. Like, all the locals were like, we don't know what it is, but something's off.
Well, what's wrong with developing big buildings and selling them?
Well, he was like...
okay, I understand that. But just the simplicity of the legal way of doing it that way.
I think you should. Trust me, I love big buildings being built, and
so that's what I was referring to. It was more just, and I watched this for like 25 minutes. Okay, I don't know the
Alex is changing the world. Right,
I don't know the intricacies of what was going on in New York real estate and all the whatever was happening there, but it just seemed like there was, and obviously there's a big emphasis on real estate here. But it was a different emphasis. And the way that I was viewing it on that TV show, it was more emphasis of Donald Trump was building these large upscale buildings and developing them and making them really nice, taking a lot of risk, going to city council, getting tax breaks. And he was, it was just kind of fantasized a little bit, I guess, by the publicity. But, what's wrong with? I don't think there's anything wrong with developing.
No, and we can do that. Like we can.
You guys should.
I plan on it.
It just takes. It's just risk.
I plan on it.
It's a lot of risk and big money. There's nothing. The market prevents us from doing that.
And there was also something I listened to recently with his audiobook, which kind of has changed my mindset a little bit, or maybe caused me to think a little bit differently about what real estate we buy or develop. He said that his father would buy real estate in Brooklyn for $1 a square foot. He say, he would buy it for $1 a square foot in Brooklyn, develop it, sell it, make a lot of money. But Donald wanted to buy in Manhattan for $1,000 a square foot. And his dad would say, why would you do that? I'm paying $1 a square foot here. Donald would say, I'm going to go and do this 1,000 times bigger for 1,000 times more expensive. But obviously the risk paid off really well. And that real estate was the most valuable real estate.
It is in the world, probably.
Yeah, that's just next level type stuff. It just depends what your goals are. He also, I don't know if you ever saw the stuff he did in Atlantic City, but He did a massive casino that went bankrupt.
He did.
Oh, did
that
they?
one,
totally,
he went
totally bankrupt.
You have to understand. I think Donald's been bankrupt a few times, but to be honest, like he had to, right? So he took a shot at developing these casinos, and I don't know why they failed, but they did. Right? It wasn't a good idea. He failed. He filed bankruptcy. Took his losses and moved on to the next one, and eventually made more money. So
in this audiobook, he's trying to convince you to go gamble at casinos. He says you got better chances at one of his casinos than in the stock market.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
I really don't understand, honestly, how you can just go bankrupt and then just like
move on.
Next month you're doing another $100 million deal.
I would think because he has
investors, I guess.
You have investors, right?
Yeah.
You have a bank that's available. It's like that $1 billion line of credit, right? So you take the loss, you write it off, and
that, or if it's just split up differently, right? Like I personally don't own anything.
Right.
All my companies own things.
And that's what I'm saying.
So like this entity goes bankrupt.
Right. This entity goes bankrupt. It takes the loss. So you start another one, loan the money from there, and keep going. That's how most people do it. I mean, people go bankrupt all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it. You know, it's like how he pays his taxes. People thought, oh, he didn't pay his taxes. He pays taxes. It's the way he sets it up, you know, and then it's listed 1 year. But I'm sure he's paying millions in some of that property.
Oh, yeah.
So
crazy world, man. There's so much opportunity, but let's keep Austin different than New York. Yeah. And I don't want you to move to New York. I'm just saying, like, that's that mindset. I think there's a difference, which is really cool. Because it's not, like we said, it's not all about the money.
Well, I don't know.
I'm telling you, dude.
I think Austin has a different vibe, right? And so it's going to grow. There's no way around it. But you still want to have Zilkers, and you want to have the creeks, and you want to have people riding bikes and walking and have dogs and
Central Park.
To me, it's the freedom. Like, you can go try to make 100, 200, but then you got $10 million loans and $40 million loans. Like there's something that can, kill you mentally in being in like more money, more problems type stuff. That's real in a lot of ways, but everyone has their own personal balance.
Right,
maybe you should go into politics.
No.
Like city government type stuff.
No. Matt's got us on that front.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, sir.
What are you going to do?
Mayor.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe one day. Just trying to play the long game. Like
Round Rock?
Yeah, that'd be cool. But the thing is, like, I really, someone told me, they're like, you got to find this thing that you're passionate about to start running on. And I think about Round Rock, I'm like, everything about Round Rock I love. There's literally nothing that I'm like, this needs to change.
Right.
I love the mayor.
Maybe I'll run for mayor in Cedar Park. We can
baby.
Have a duo there.
I don't know. I think it's cool to be involved. I don't necessarily have to be the mayor or anything, but to be involved and to know what's going on is really cool to me.
Well, plus it helps you with development. You understand ordinances and kind of, I guess, have you ever been involved or with structuring property or, surveys and is it, what am I trying to say here?
Platting the
land and, getting ordinances for certain development. I mean, have you ever built anything from the ground up?
I've been part of meetings and I've invested in them and I've seen it happen. I just never was like the lead.
What interests me is like, say you're, buying some property and subdividing the land and building neighborhoods, right? So you buy the property, and this is what I want to do. And I believe I can get investors to go in on this. I have a few in mind. You buy the property, it's just going to have to find the property, right? You subdivide it, you get all the groundwork done, then you sell the lots.
Oh, dude, that's big money. I know a lot of people doing that.
Yeah. So that's down the road, but that's something that really interests me. But, I don't know anything about getting that land developed, or getting the...
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it is. And I would think it has to be a little political as well.
Yeah.
Right? So...
That's why Matt's going to be mayor.
That's what I'm saying. So, hey, I think that's some things we can talk about at another time. I'd like to pick your brain about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I'm always thinking. And my goal right now, I told Alex this, is I'm trying to get to where real estate gives me $10,000 a month in passive income. Yeah. That's the goal for like the next year and a half to 2 years. Because I've got a decent amount of properties, but they don't make any money. They just helped with net worth, which has been great to get loans and lines of credit to do more things. And I think I've got it figured out. It's kind of a crazy idea, but we have a RV behind our house, and it's actually...
I heard that.
Yeah, it's actually renting out. And we're going to put another one out there. And what we're thinking about doing is...
Are you creating an RV park
Dude,
in your backyard?
It reminds me of the food truck areas downtown.
Get this, though. This is what we're thinking. I don't like to do things normal. I like to have people think I'm
outside the box.
People think I'm crazy. But we're going to have all three of them, the 2 trailers and our house, up for Airbnb. And what we're going to do is just move between the 3, whichever one's not rented.
You won't do that.
Lexi's on board, dude.
Yeah.
Lexi's on board.
With the kids?
I mean, I'm telling you, the RV's pretty nice, and we're gonna get a trailer or those industrial, what do they call them? Like the
Sheds,
like a metal building.
The metal buildings that you build out. You can make those really,
pavilion.
Really
Where
nice.
are you gonna put all this?
Right behind that little park in the back of my house.
You should just build a barn dominion, actually.
Where all the woods used to be, like the big trees that y'all cut down?
Yeah.
So are you...
It's crazy.
I like it. I love it. I love people thinking I'm crazy.
I mean, I'm
this.
okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It's It's a great idea, I guess. If it's renting out.
Well, dude,
it's a good idea.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And so people know, like, Round Rock Airbnb is insane. You go on there and you look at what's available and you try to book it, and it shows what's booked. These people are booked 90%.
Imagine if it wasn't 2020, you would have all the concerts in town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can never find a room during South by Southwest or, the concerts. You would rent it out in a second. You could charge double or triple the price too.
Yeah.
So
does zoning permit everything you're doing?
that's what I was thinking about earlier. Zoning.
We're having conversations with the city right now.
But it did allow you to put an RV there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many? There's got to be a
that's
number.
what we're actually. There's this
because
guy
there has to be a point to where it becomes
multifamily.
Yeah.
Mobile home park.
Yeah, mobile home park.
This is a fresh idea. This is a fresh idea.
You always wanted a good mobile home park, didn't you?
We got one.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
where's it at?
South Austin.
Burleson Road,
Good
in
investment.
71. We haven't closed on it, but we have it under contract.
People think that's a bad idea. We have tons of them.
Sounds like a great idea.
It is a good idea.
There's a guy I follow from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Forgetting his name. Chris Rude.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he's a big mobile home park guy out of Louisiana.
People don't like them. Neighborhoods don't like them. Cities don't like them.
Let me give you an example. I really like thinking outside the box with this stuff. And Lexi's parents bought a house in Marble Falls. It's on top of this hill. It's 7 acres. It's a beautiful house.
Wow.
And I was talking to them this weekend, and I was like, why don't you just list your house on Airbnb for a crazy number, like $5,000 a week? And if someone takes it, then you could make $5,000. You could spend $2,500 to go to Vegas or Mexico and get paid to do that. That is fascinating, but it takes a little bit of sacrifice, and not a lot of people want to do stuff like that. But let's say you get $10,000, and people will pay $10,000 for something like that for a week or 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then you go spend $4,000 to leave your house and go on a vacation and make $6,000 to do it. That's freaking cool.
Just go buy another house at that point.
No, it's good. I think revolving income. Paying for itself. I buy or pay for a rental experience in Fredericksburg. When I want to go get away. So same idea. I mean, I do it. Mm-hmm. So I think putting trailers in your backyard, it's out of the box. It's something, if you're young enough and that's what you can afford to do emotionally with your kids and financially, you do it.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good idea. It's a great way to make money. It's like the guys back in the day finding garage sales and selling them on eBay. It was the hustle. How do we make the most money going for?
Right. But I just think we're in what we all know we're in a good market, but I don't think it's easy to understand how good it really is.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money.
I mean, this trailer.
How much would you rent a trailer out for?
$45 a night. And we've already had 3 guests, and they've put in great reviews, and we've got another person that's doing it for a month. Like most likely this RV is going to be able to pay the taxes for the whole entire property.
And you've got a lot of taxes.
I've got a lot of taxes, so hell yeah.
So what's written out for like $1,200 a month?
Yeah, it'll be right around $1,200 a month if it was full time.
If it was full time,
at $45, $50.
This is typically a weekend thing, isn't it? Or they're
and
coming.
people loved it, man. We just put camping downtown Round Rock RV, and they can walk to the bars. $45 is the cheapest thing on Airbnb.
It's got
everything else is $150.
I was thinking to myself when you said that, I was like, wow, that's really cheap. Maybe he's on to something.
What do your neighbors think?
Yeah. That's the question.
Well, we have it fenced, like it's fenced off from our house, good. So it's private. Yeah. Neighbors they haven't said anything about it. I mean, it looks nice. Like yesterday, we put up a lighted pathway to it. Our other neighbors got all kinds of stuff in their front yard, so it's like we're taking care of this place. Yeah,
No, I was just curious if anybody said anything.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I try to. I'm a big, obviously, networker and people person, but I really don't want to know my neighbors.
Interesting.
I don't know. I just I like my privacy in a lot of ways, and I've got enough going on with enough people that I talk to. When I get home, I just want to go inside and not have a 20-minute conversation every day with somebody that I'm making friendship with.
That's weird.
It is weird.
That is crazy. Yeah,
that's weird for you.
I know people have said that.
That's normal. I think that's normal for most people these days. But I have been under the understanding that I would like to know my neighbors. Maybe not a super close relationship, but I do like to have somebody look out for my
brother.
Things,
you should hear my brother. He lives in this cul-de-sac off 183 and Pat and Gin, and they literally have this
group,
trade
like a family.
My brother does all the physical work.
Yeah.
This one lady cooks dinner once a week. This other guy comes over for dinner once a week.
Wait, what?
They have a full on trading system.
Cul-de-sacs are like that, man. I'm telling you.
Well, this is right up Sam's alley.
Dude, Sam was like, we worked really hard today. You think you can make us dinner? And this lady just cooked him and his wife dinner. And the next day she's like, hey, Sam, can you put up my Christmas lights? He goes and puts up her Christmas lights.
Wow.
I mean, it's like a full-on...
That's right up Sam's alley.
He loves it. He loves it.
I bet he does.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I wouldn't really want to know my neighbors either.
Yeah.
I could see that. Just...
I'm not a networker.
You're a networker.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I feel like I want to know my neighbors. And I think I've owned a few homes, so... I've always known my neighbors. Sometimes I don't get along with my neighbors.
I think actually that might be the thing is I feel like if I don't like them or get along with them,
you're stuck next to them.
Yeah, so I'd rather just not even know.
Because I think there's an aspect of it to where you don't want, what if they don't like you? What if they are judging you? Which doesn't really matter, but you would rather just not deal with it. Right? Yeah. You don't want the hassle or whatever it is. But I had a neighbor when I bought my first home, my neighbors... He was real strange, right? He was always in my yard, looking around my boat and my shed.
That's actually what happened with my neighbor. He was doing all that.
And I just didn't feel like, I was like, what are you doing, man? I don't want to be an asshole, but, this is my property.
Bud, get your fingers off the boat.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just making sure everything's okay. I'm like, everything's fine. We're fine over here.
Yeah. That's literally what happened.
Nosy neighbors. So that's the worst. Yeah. So.
Don't be one of those.
Don't be a nosy neighbor.
Right on, man. Well, what are the goals moving forward? What are ways that people can help you out, add value for you?
All I want is a shot, right? So I think my goals for next year are to get out more, right? Meet more new real estate agents, people in general, maybe other people in other industries as well, and kind of get a better idea. So that's kind of my goal for next year is to start getting out again, right? My marketing has been lax this last year. I didn't have to market, but I know that those purchase deals need to keep coming in, not just refis. And so my goal is to meet probably several new referral partners next year and just kind of get my name out there. And all I ask is that people give me a shot. I know there's people that work with lenders, but there's always someone that can offer you something different. It's not a bad thing to have 2 or 3 in your back pocket. And usually if they start with me, I don't typically lose them, and so it's been that way for the last few years. And so I want to continue to do that.
I'm excited. I'm really ready to refinance. I think.
Yeah, I know. We should be. I'll look at it. We need to start.
A month at max.
I thought I said December.
Yeah.
By end of December, I think you should be ready.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, you can email, text message. Best way to reach me. Glynn.LeBlanc@supremelending.com, 512-672-9472.
Can you spell that last name for everyone?
LEB, as in boy, LANC. It means the white in French.
Really?
Yeah.
LeBlanc.
Nice, man. Right on. Well, appreciate having you on.
Thank you, guys.
We'll keep it rolling. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Hit up Glenn if you need anything. Have a great day.